Episode number 2, it is the Apologise to Me ATM podcast. My name is Martin Devlin, and with me, the one and only Mark Watto. Welcome.
How are you, Marty? All right, mate?
A lot to get through today. We're talking.
Have I told you you're an attractive man?
I'm a very attractive man.
Very
the only
platonic way,
problem
of course.
is that I would prefer that somebody, and I know this is a sexist pig thing to say, I'd prefer somebody without a penis said that to me, Mark. That's all I'm just saying. I'm just making that loud and clear. Shoot me, take me to the stake and burn me if that's the case.
Let's move on, Martin. I didn't quite expect it to go there.
Commonwealth Games we're going to talk about because I've been addicted to this as always. You've covered a lot of Commonwealth Games. I've been to the comms. I want to talk about cycling, and I also want to talk about the fact New Zealand cycling, don't you dare start taking any credit for the performance of these athletes. They've done it in spite of you morons. Women's rugby. Ooh, the elephant in the room. Are we allowed to talk about this? I think we have to be honest about this. I'm a supporter of it, but who else is at the moment? Will the Warriors win again in the EPL?
Apologise to me!
Kicking it off with the Commonwealth Games. What have you loved more than anything else? What's the favourite thing you've seen so far?
Oh, Lewis Clarebird. I think that certain medals at the Commonwealth Games carry more weight than others. Clarebird's performance in the 400 IM and the 200 butterfly are genuinely world class. You know, we haven't won a medal in this event at the Olympics or in swimming since 1996. Daniel Moda. Right. It's been that long. Yep. We've had a number of athletes. Lauren Boyle, fourth. Moss Burmester finishing fourth in 2008. But this is a guy who comes out of Wellington, very humble beginnings, actually from Palmerston North, and he clearly has a big race temperament. I mean, 4 years ago, he won a bronze medal when no one expected him to at the previous Commonwealth Games. Then he stepped up, won a bronze medal at the World Championships, which we just don't do on the men's side. And here he is, you know, a little bit of a lapse last year, but still 7th at the Olympics, but he was disappointed by his own standards. He's really gone away. He's worked incredibly hard on the breaststroke, really tough stroke to master, so different than the other 3 strokes. And here he is winning some of the blue ribbon events, and then to step up, win where Moss Burmester's won previously in the past in 2006. Danion's won it previously in the past, and you go back and we've got a history in it, but yeah, genuinely medals that carry real weight. I mean, I would take him and say, look, at the moment, along with our Winter Olympians, but you'd very much put him in the Halberg discussion right now.
It's, you know, fascinating to see his parents speak after he won the IM, and his father said, look out for the butterfly because he's going to go in this as well. Remember, let's go back to Danion. Danion won a silver, remember, as a 17-year-old,
yep.
Right? And then he got into the freestyle. Before that was...
We had Paul Kingsman in the backstroke, Anthony Moss in the butterfly.
Okay, there you go in the butterfly.
And Moss won a bronze, but his father had just passed away and he had a pretty tough build-up.
That was a gold to me. A New Zealander in the pool, winning those.
And he went against the great Mikael Gross, the albatross,
that's right,
who was East German.
East German, yes. Yeah.
So that's pretty much means that you certainly were silver and probably bronze, probably gold. But look, Mark Trevor's 1974 Commonwealth Games, which I think was the last of the truly great Commonwealth Games. Trevor's won the 400 IM in 74, and by all accounts, he lives in Australia. He's been actually trying to track Lewis down and phone him and congratulate him.
Oh, brilliant.
But you've got to be, to be a really good medley swimmer, you've got to have a really solid background in butterfly. But where he's made the most progress is the breaststroke. Yeah. That's the third leg.
He was actually making gains on that in that third leg too. So this man is a young superstar, and I loved his comment as well that 4 years ago he was the 18-year-old in lane 1, and now he's actually becoming a bit of an elder statesman. So more power to him. As far as the cycling goes, just again the track. If you haven't been to a velodrome before, one of the most beautiful places to watch any sport is a velodrome. It is just intense. It is so exciting. It is so close, and you only get a feel for how goddamn fast they go and what they put themselves through when you're actually there watching.
Oh, look, it is just a barbaric sport.
There you go.
Look, I have a lot of cliches. You're breathing through your eyelids, you're breathing razor blades. Well, that sport there is a metaphor for all of that. You've got to be incredibly tough. I was privileged enough in 2008 in Beijing to call the entire track cycling program when Hayden Ralston won silver and our men's pursuit team won bronze for the first time. And you sort of felt that was the stepping stone that we were going to we were really going to build on it. But really, 2012, we didn't actually progress any further than that. 2016, disappointing again. And so you'd like to think now that this really is the stepping stone for us to having a very, very good Paris Olympics. Because what you can say historically in track cycling is if you do look at the Olympics, it has actually been dominated by Commonwealth countries. So there is great depth in this. But look, it comes back to, it does come back to the George Bennetts, and it comes back to the Ralstons, and it comes back to those guys that, were the pioneers, not so much the pioneers, but said, hey, it can be done. But the biggest thing with New Zealand cycling is the velodrome that we've got now in Cambridge, the velodrome we've now got in Southland. I'll say this, if you want to produce world-class athletes, don't invest so much in the athlete, invest in bricks and mortar and invest in good coaching.
And also get rid of that administration, which are a bunch of the most cowardly, backstabbing, hidey, call a review. Don't put our names out in public and smear my brilliant career crew. These people should be working alongside Mark Robinson at New Zealand Rugby. These New Zealand cycling people, if any of you dare put your head above the parapet and dare for a second try and claim success off these athletes, you're going to get the shotgun blast and you're going to get it up both ends.
Well, I can say the same thing about triathlon. I've had a guts full of the way that sport's been run. I mean, we've got a number of athletes who historically I didn't believe were good enough to go to last year's Olympics, but they went anyway. You know, particularly on the women's side, what we've basically said is you be the best athlete in New Zealand, you'll go to the Olympics, because they were so desperate for that next point of view, so desperate believing they were going to win a medal in the relay. The problem is you actually then sort of dumb the standards down. Then you go across, you look at Athletics New Zealand, who's so far the other way. The standards are so brutal, you're like, hey, hang on a minute, guys, just pull it back a little bit. It is just the Commonwealth Games. We still need to be aspirational to a degree.
Yeah, I agree.
But look, the administration, I think what kills sport is sports science. Sports science kills so many sports. Everything's got to be a PowerPoint presentation. Everything's got to fit a certain box. You've got to be a certain personality. And that's wrong. Some athletes just like things to be simple. I had a young kid in the triathlon program in 2008 from the West Coast, 17 years of age, turns up to the European base late. I said, where have you been? Oh, I was just busking in Paris for a week, Mark, to earn some money. Now, this kid had an old steel-framed bike, was the hardest I've ever seen. I would have put him in charge of the base. I sent an email to his parents congratulating him on it. He's actually gone to become an international actor, but it's another story. And I used to say to Ben, and I'd get these phone calls from people within the program, oh, look, I think Ben needs to be on power meters. He needs to make sure, all the sports science stuff. He said, how do you know if he's going any good, Mark? And I go, real simple. Ben, how did you go today? Yeah, good, Mark.
Yeah, how fast did you go? Yeah.
Thank you.
How
did you go today? Well, he rode brilliantly. That's all I need to know sometimes. Now, other athletes, yes, you do need everything quantified. But yeah, we've gone so far this way now. I mean, you go up to the Millennium Institute and there are just layers.
Yeah, but
they've created an industry.
That's because it's a bloody protector. They've created, you're exactly right.
They create an industry for themselves.
Look, and what it is most of the people that I despise who get into sports administration are there because it is a stepping stone to another point of their career.
But I'll tell you another story. So I used to coach full time. I had about 10 or 12 athletes I took to a national championships, right? That won some pretty big titles. I get an athlete up to a certain point. At that point, they become carded. So then my athlete would then go off under the carding system to a dietitian who would then prescribe them a certain meal. They'd invoice and get paid their $500 or whatever it is. Then I'd go and send them off to get their aerobic testing. And the sports science guy in the lab would then invoice high performance sport for $1,000. Yet me, the coach, who was there on the pool side,
nothing.
Out there riding with them, out there on the track, wouldn't get anything. In fact, I struggled to get any credibility because I didn't have a sports science degree on the wall.
Paper, mate.
But I just want to say this. Scientist Martin once told us the earth was flat.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I mean, some of the people
I see, some of the people
running our country, I mean, I would actually say that's probably the most sensible thing they've ever said.
Do you believe in the moon landing?
Oh, absolutely not, mate. It's a warehouse in Lower Hutt. You know it bloody is, mate.
Oh, you're not one of these people who believes in the moon, are you?
Before we go on to another topic, yes or no, did Hayden Wiles go early?
No, Hayden Wild was the victim of overzealous officiating, which is just killing elite level sport. Rugby is case in point.
He took his helmet off early, mate.
He didn't take his helmet. He didn't take it off early.
He took it off early. It was so obvious. Stop the bike, unclip your helmet. What are you watching?
What, are you going to start singing God Save the Queen now?
No, I'm just saying that I hate the rule.
He didn't take it off.
He broke the rule, mate. That's him saying he agrees with me.
Okay, question is then, when every one of those other athletes came off the bike, did they have an official standing right in front of them, making sure that it was a level playing field across the board? Did Alex Yee have an official standing in front of him? In a court of law, it would be thrown out in a heartbeat because under any judiciary, you want a level playing field. You want it to be equal. Would he have won that gold medal? Would he have won that gold medal? Probably not. I think Alex Yee over that distance might have had the speed.
Yeah.
Over the full distance, the 10 kilometres, which I describe as 8 kilometres of hope, 2 kilometres of truth, Martin.
Yes.
I just thought I'd throw another cliche in.
I've heard that before.
It would be a wonderful finish.
Okay, Hayden, good for him, said he didn't want to appeal.
Apologise to me!
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Spectators at the Farah Palmer Cup. Now, look, I'm not saying this.
Hey, question. What do you call a man with no arms? Jack. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Well, it's not Jack.
Stop it. Okay, so we could go on forever here. Look, what I've got to say first and foremost is that I want this to succeed. I want women's rugby to succeed. Because if you spend $48 million like New Zealand Rugby have and you invest so much in that sport, and there are many sports around the country where the female athletes and all of those who contribute to the sport have got every good goddamn reason to say, how the hell are you getting that money when you're not even the most popular sport in New Zealand? I'm looking at netball is more popular. Women's football is more popular. There's probably more female hockey players in the country than there are rugby players. So a lot of other sports could genuinely put their hands up and say, why do you get all the attention? Why do you get the Sky Sport coverage? Why are you on live every week? Why do you lead the television news when no one's watching? I think once again the New Zealand Rugby Union are letting the women down. You can't just throw money at a problem. This is how the government department works, right? We'll just throw $100 million at it and then go away. You've got to have a marketing plan. You've got to know who your audience is that you're after. Where is that audience right at the moment? And these are crucial questions that need asking. And none of these players are going to put their hand up. Mark, my biggest question first and foremost about the women's rugby, and I'm not being a smarty pants here, there were more spectators at the Chatham Cup match between Eastern Suburbs and Waiheke Island on Saturday afternoon on Waiheke than there were right across the weekend for this. This has got to be something significant that the rugby union have to be aware of and also must be looking at something to do about it. First and foremost, why aren't women watching those games? Why aren't women going to those games?
Well, to spread it even further, where are the feminists? The feminists that keep arguing and saying that women in rugby and cricket should be getting paid the same as the men, that they want parity. Look, they are fortunately benefiting from a political environment here in New Zealand, which, let's use that word, where you can't really come out and put your head above the parapet. You're not allowed to challenge the establishment.
We're going to get shot for saying this, mate.
No, but what I think the disappointing thing is, and I put women's cricket in this, look, I think women's golf has organically grown to the point now where it's a wonderful product and we get into watching it internationally. I think women's tennis has always been there. You go back to the likes of the Navaralovas.
I'll go back to Chris Everett-Lloyd, all of that.
Chris Everett-Lloyd, Steffi Graf, they've got legacy. So you can understand why they're global events, why we enjoy sitting down and watching them. And you've got to let sport evolve. Like, I'm thrilled that women's rugby's now got a place.
Same.
I'm thrilled that women's cricket's there. I've got a daughter. If she wants to take it up, let's get the coaching in place, but let's not try and manufacture the importance of it. Let it just naturally evolve. See, I don't like the women's cricket team at the Commonwealth Games. I'm sorry. I see them as club athletes compared to, say, our women's swimmers, compared to our women gymnasts, compared to our women's hockey players, who I think are genuinely what I would consider elite athletes. But, hey, you know, they're cricket. And because the men are doing well, somehow
that's where the money is, mate. You've got to understand that's where the money is. And so therefore that's why they're going to get the investment that they've got, because these other sports don't have that.
No, but we are. But you constantly have it shoved down your throat. Why aren't you people out there supporting women's rugby? Why aren't you out there supporting women's cricket? You must be chauvinists. No, nothing to do with it. We just enjoy the best product. We've only got so much time. As I said, if it's a product that you keep telling us is as big as the men's versions of it, where are the 2.5 million women? Where are the feminists that jump up and down?
Yeah.
Where are these female journalists that continually get out there and at times you sort of sense are almost man-haters? It's not just about equality.
But why
it's almost
hate us? This is the problem that I have, and you can write a column, whoever you are, and say that it's our fault, it's you and me, because we're not watching it. But I'm sorry, why aren't women watching these games? Why aren't women watching women's sport? And this, to me, I go back to the question. No, it's up to the rugby union. Need a plan, and they don't have a marketing plan.
Yeah, but
they just tell us that we have to watch. They're not saying they're not actually bringing a good reason for people to come and watch.
But absolutely. Meanwhile, you've got all the unions struggling. You've got club rugby struggling. There's a lack of quality facilities in all of our clubs. I was talking to a former All Black halfback, and he was saying that he's got his kids playing at Ponsonby, and some nights on a Wednesday night he's scared his kids might drown, such as the depth of water that are on these pitches under half lit floodlights and stuff. And you're just going to yourself, where is the resource being put into this?
It's been put in for $48 million into women's rugby.
It's a box-ticking exercise.
That's exactly what it is by Mark.
It's a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes,
it's to be seen to be doing the right thing to appease a minority of people in a political environment that's very much slanted by the left.
Okay, so what I got to say is to me, this isn't good enough, and it is about time, and we will be the first, if the first to be shot down, the first to also raise the issue and say the Empress has no clothes on at the moment, and there has to be a hell of a lot more work done. And I got to reiterate again, I want this to succeed, like I want all sports to succeed. I'm not one of those people who sit there and go, "Oh, my sport is my favourite, and I don't want yours to succeed." I'd love spectators at all of this stuff, but they have to have a plan, and that's again what New Zealand rugby don't have.
But it's sort of like this mentality, we've got to have equality, so we've got to have 50% men, 50% women. No, you don't. You just have to have the best people in place. You've got to have the best product. And now if that happens to be women's netball, which is a great product, so be it. Women's tennis is a great product. At the moment, clearly women's rugby is not a strong enough product. It's not a good enough product. Otherwise people would be watching it. So these organisations have got to be really, really careful. At the end of the day, they're profit-driven organisations. You can go out there and try and tick all those PC boxes and appease 2% of the population, or you can actually just pull it back a little bit, invest some money in it, but just give it time to grow. Stop trying to manufacture the importance. Stop trying to tell me how important it's going to be. This Women's Rugby World Cup, I have a feeling, will be an absolute disaster in terms of spectator numbers.
I think it's going to be enormous, mate. You know why? Because we love this stuff in this country. And
Not
every time
the Women's World Cup, surely, mate. Do you honestly believe that?
Absolutely. Anything that happens at that time of the year, I think that... Look,
with the World Cup around it, people will go for a novelty reason.
Look, whatever reason they go, I don't care whether they go because they hate it, mate, as long as that they go.
You're contradicting yourself.
At all. I think that, look, when you get other countries in here...
He's contradicting himself, isn't he?
That'd be the first time ever if that's the case. I think the Women's Rugby World Cup will go off in spite of the New Zealand Rugby Union and in spite of the fact that they don't know what they're doing to actually promote the sport. I work in the wanker media, mate. I don't need to book my tickets. This is the ATM. It is the Apologise to Me podcast. Are the Warriors going to win another game?
No.
Let me rephrase the question. Will the goddamn useless Warriors win another game?
No, because... we don't get it. Life's hard for them, Martin. Life's hard. I mean, they spent the last 2 years in apartments on the Gold Coast, earning $500,000 a year, turning up to training 3 times a week, having to turn up and play for 80 minutes, and life is hard. Meanwhile, George Bennett's over there in the Tour de France, racing for food along with a million other endurance athletes, individual athletes, and then they came home and then we're supposed to, now we're going to reset because they're back at home. And prior to that, it was they weren't playing well because their coach was sacked, and now they're back at home. Now they're bickering on the field. The reality is, man, you cannot put back in what God left out, Martin. Will they win another game? No, they won't. No. And do things look any better for next year? No, they don't. And what about in 2 years now?
What a load of Tudge, if that's the case. However, I'm Cameron George, and I'm going to sit at the press conference, and I'm going to talk about exciting new opportunities.
But Martin, just be patient.
Oh, sorry.
Be patient. That's it. Be patient. 25 years. Be patient.
That's right. 2 years.
Be patient.
Right.
I mean, honestly, they are just an embarrassment on the New Zealand landscape.
To every other man that is out there, and I know that the Warriors,
are an embarrassment.
I know you've done it absolutely tough and everything else, but you ask any man honestly, while she's not looking at him, you get the chance to go to the Gold Coast for 6 months to live in a beachside apartment while she's looking after the kids back at home. How hard is it?
Oh, mate.
It's hard. But don't tell me it's not hard.
But,
don't tell me that you wouldn't jump a plane today if you're listening, and I know you...
Hey, just quickly on that, and I just want to segue, but too, and I know we discussed this after last week's, but let's just quickly go back to the All Black thing. The handing out of these $5,000 watches. Read the damn room. Going into a bar after you lose to Ireland, read the damn room. Mark Robertson, major drama going on here in New Zealand. I'll go over to Birmingham and hang out with the Sevens team while Rome's burning. Read the damn room. I've even found out too that when they were based in Wellington in this recent training camp, they were next door at the pokies, playing the pokies. Read the damn room. You do not go through an airport and then when someone says, can you put a mask on? Or just chill out.
No.
Just chill out. Is that what you did for 80 minutes against Ireland? Just stood there and chilled out?
Topic number whatever it is, 4 or 5, but the final thing that we're discussing on the ATM Apologise to Me podcast is it's the minor matter of some football tournament. competition championship starting in England again this week. And I'm
through a storm, hold your head up high. Sing it with me, Martin. Sing it with me.
I've got nothing, mate. My team is rubbish. My team is Schreisenhausen.
I love it. I was the other day looking at the community.
Oh, that's right. You won the community shield.
Yeah, but
whoa, have another parade.
I wasn't sure.
The thing I love about you guys is the fact that you are dedicated to winning only the most important trophies.
Yeah, but I didn't know.
Champions League, don't care. Premiership, no worry about that. Give us a little shield that no one cares about, and we'll start singing our song and parading around town like we're actually winners.
I wasn't quite sure how you celebrate the community shield.
You don't.
So I went on the History Channel and I watched Manchester United and how they celebrated.
Okay, enough. We're out
But
here,
the footage
mate.
was pretty average. I don't think it was even in digital.
We've done ATM Apologise to Me episode 2. Thank you, Watto.
It's a beautiful thing. You want to sing that song?
Devlin.
Yes! Yes! Can they do it?
The Platform.